Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in. Good afternoon. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon. Appreciate that. There is a couple of different ways to listen to the show. Certainly one is the live show that we are Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 on KDOW 1220 AM. You could tune in on your radio. Another way to achieve that is to go online and listen to the show. You could listen to it anywhere during this time frame. If you're online at kdow.biz, that is the radio station website, you could just click on the big old button that shows Listen Live, and you can listen to the show anytime. I should say during this time slot, no matter where you are, you could listen to the show. And then, of course, we have the podcast available for you that's growing rapidly. We want to continue that only because in a world where all of us are busy and there's a lot of stuff going on, it's almost impossible to always be able to focus on a certain time. So that's the reason why the podcasts are so important and so popular. So make sure you download the podcast, listen to that, follow that. You could go to iTunes and type in Real Estate Radio Live, and that will come up. You could download there, or you could go to our website at reradiolive.com and get the podcast downloaded there. So we appreciate that very much. The focus has been the same for almost 8 years now. We'll continue to do that. When I started the show, it was to educate the consumer, inform the consumer, really help the consumer make wise decisions in and around real estate transactions, period. What that's grown to now is, I think, a large amount of awareness throughout the Bay Area now with the podcast, throughout all kinds of different areas to help people. We get calls and correspondence from people on a regular basis that enjoy the show for the main reason. It's the same reason I hear for the most part, and that is that they've learned something and they call us when they need a resource. If they need a real estate agent, maybe they need a financial planner, some tax advice. We have all those resources available here at Real Estate Radio Live, and our team, we're happy to help. During the show, you could get a hold of us if you'd like to get your calls on the air. It's 1-800-516-1220. That's 1-800-516-1220. You could call us during the show if you want to get your calls on the air. If you're listening to this on a podcast, the way to reach me is 408-838-9060. You could call or text, and, of course, you could email joe at reradiolive.com. All right, the first two segments of the show today, I'm going to talk about investment real estate. I'm going to give you some updates, some thoughts on investment real estate, some philosophies, maybe where to find some of the best opportunities in investing in real estate. And then on segments 3 and 4, right around 3:30 or so, we're going to invite in our guest who's been on the show a couple times before, our good friend from the East Coast. That is Rick Elmendorf, and he is a VA military loan expert and specialist. He specializes in VA military loans out on the East Coast, and just a great guy, super knowledgeable, and good to check in with him, not only in the market, but what I love is his dedication and his focus, this niche market he has with the VA and government loans, specifically helping the men and women of our armed forces and all the different divisions of the military get into homes and have home ownership. And there's some wonderful programs out there. Unfortunately, we don't see the benefit of them that much here in this area of California because of the cost of the average home. It's well over $1 million in this specific Bay Area. So you don't see a whole lot of VA military activity in terms of that, but you certainly see a lot of it outside of this area in the Central Valley. You see a lot of it in many parts of the United States, thanks goodness to the fact that there are some opportunities out there for the military folks to take advantage of, and they should. They should have all the benefits possible, and this is one of them, certainly 100% financing and some other wonderful things that are available. So we're going to have Rick that'll jump on the show with us for the last two segments, talk a little bit about that market and give us some insight on a few other things as well. What I want to talk about first, the first couple segments, a little bit about investment real estate. A lot of the calls that I receive, emails, correspondence, there's a big interest there. It continues to be a big interest in investment real estate. And the questions are always, I want to invest in real estate, or I'm interested, and you have certainly people that are entry level that have not invested in real estate yet. Maybe they own their own primary residence, but they want to get into the investment part. So they're doing what they're supposed to do, which is great. I'd love to see people becoming educated and really looking into doing their due diligence, which is exciting. There's a lot of interest there for investment real estate. So the question always becomes, where do I invest? And that's the big, 5,000, 5 million, 500 million, whatever question you have, or maybe the 5 cents question. Where do I invest in real estate? And that's a great question. I would say there's all kinds of different places you can invest in real estate, and it depends on your strategy and your philosophy. Well, most people are disenchanted to invest in real estate as an investment property here or in expensive areas, because if you look at an average sales price of $1 million or $1 million, first of all, you have to put at least 25% down typically. And then you look at the numbers and you think, oh my God, this is not a really good use of money. You're telling me I have to put $250,000 to $300,000 down to begin with. So there's that outlay, there's that money. And then even with good rents, I have a negative cash flow. Why would I do this? Why would I invest $300,000 for a negative cash flow? And some people would say, well, Joe, for me, if you look at this real estate market, it appreciates an average of 7 to 10% a year historically. And I would say be careful of that, because that's true, but that's because there's some 6 to 8, 10-year run-ups where it's just crazy and you're getting these incredible increases in value. But you have to be careful of that. But some people will still do that, because their play is this. I'm going to pay $1 million for this now, but I think in the next 15 to 20 years, this place could be worth $2 million or 1.5. And they look at that maybe more than they look at the potential cash flow or cash flow properties. Most people that invest in real estate, most of them, they're purely focused on the cash flow, and then what happens as an after effect if they get some equity growth and they gain equity. That's just icing on the cake. That's why you see a lot of people over the last several years interested in investing in places like Texas and North Carolina, Atlanta, Miami, a lot of different places. Although Miami's getting those prices are getting back up there, so that most people will focus on looking at something. I'll give you an example. Would be I could buy, let's just say for $150,000, you could buy a house in Texas, and you could put as little as 20% down, and you might get rents of, $800 to $1,000 a month or something. And then so a lot of people are buying multiple properties, those numbers. And now when you think about it, if you put $25,000 or $30,000 down, now you're looking, okay, so $25,000 to $30,000, what can that money earn me? What can I make on that money? What if I put that money in a bank? What could I earn on it? Not much, right? 1% or less. What if I put it in the stock market? Maybe not bad, but I want to diversify a little bit. I already have money in the stock market. What else can I invest in? So a lot of people look towards real estate. And so when you're looking at a $25,000 to $30,000 investment for a down payment, and initially maybe you're getting a couple $100 a month cash flow, might not be a bad play if you think about it. I know several people that have set up their retirement like this, which I know it sounds a little simplistic, but it's pretty exciting, and I wish I would have thought about this. I guess it's never too late, but 15, 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. I know a lot of people that have said, Joe, over the next 5 years, I've heard this several times, over the next 5 years, I'm going to buy 8 to 10 properties that are eventually going to net me somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month net. Is it interesting? So you do the quick math and you think, so eventually you're talking about having $10,000 to $15,000 a month in net income. Yeah. So what their plan is to buy these properties, right? Let's say you buy 10 over the next 5 years. You buy 2 a year, and you buy them for about 100 to 150 each. You put your 20 to 25% down, and then their goal is to accelerate the payoff of the loan, right? So in their mind, is they put together a spreadsheet and scenarios, and they're saying, Joe, if I could pay these off in 10 to 15 years, I'll be, let's say they're 40 or whatever, I'll be this age. And when those are completely paid off, and now I have 15 properties all netting me $1,000 a month, just say across the board, that's their retirement. I know a lot of people that have thought that way. I know a lot of people that have put together programs that way. I know other people that are doing that right now. It's kind of exciting when you think about it. I know a lot of people would say, well, wait a minute, what about my pension? What about the Social Security? What about, my retirement? What about mutual funds? What about 401ks? Well, all those are still good, but what's wrong with real estate? What is wrong with real estate and having it diversified and really putting together a schedule so you could get different sources of income? And a lot of people are doing this and having a lot of success with it. And we're going to talk a little bit more of that in the second segment. But that's really the point I wanted to get across is there's investment opportunities out there all the time. It doesn't change even in crazy markets. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to continue talking a little about investment real estate, some of the strategies, ideas. If you have any questions, you get your calls on air, 1-800-516-1220, or you could text 408-838-9060. This is Joe Kuchera. I'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Bay Area housing competition is fierce, and everyone wants to know one thing. What is a winning strategy? What does it really take to stand out from the rest and get my offer accepted? Hi, this is Joe Kuchera, host of Real Estate Radio Live. If you feel like winning in this market is a challenge, you're not alone. The good news is getting your offer accepted on that home is not impossible. It just takes an experienced team and a solid strategy. With the right support, you can structure the strongest offer. Factors such as credit, down payment, income type, and lending programs are all important. Did you know that people are even using personal touches such as letters, photos, and videos to stand out? So let's talk through structuring the strongest offer for you. From critical steps in pre-approval to creating a custom plan to win the home of your dreams, we can succeed in this market together. Call 408-838-9060 or email joe at RERadiolive.com.
Real estate broker Cal DRE, NMLS number 6606.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We're with you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 3 to 4. You could tune in KDOW 1220 AM on your radio. Also, listen to us live online at KDOW.biz. And then lastly, be sure to download the podcast. That way, if you aren't able to listen to the live show, we'd love to have you listen to the podcast. Follow us, continue to listen to the information. And that is at iTunes. Just type in Real Estate Radio Live at iTunes or go to RERadiolive.com and get the podcast. We're live from 3 to 4, so if you have any questions, 1-800-516-1220, or you could text, which seems to be a popular way to communicate, at 408-838-9060. So this segment, 1 and 2, this is the second segment. I'm going to finish up talking a little bit about investment real estate, some of the opportunities, the reason why people do it, the reason why I think it's always a good idea and always a good opportunity, no matter what time of the year or what's going on in the marketplace. I am a big fan of always being open to opportunity, no matter where you are, what time, or what the market's like. I really am, because you never know. Open to everything, attached to nothing, in the sense that you never know. I mean, it may be, in some people's mind, they'll say, you know what, Joe, right now, the rest of the year, or the next 18 months, I'm staying away from real estate. Someone might say that. I say it's a mistake to think that way. Now, if you think, for the most part, your strategy is you're not going to buy, but there's some opportunities that come up in different areas or some other things that pop up, then you never know. And so stay open. And what's going on here in the Bay Area, one of the things that I think, that I've been talking about for years is to keep looking outside of the specific area. We tend to have focused on where we live and where we operate and have our business. And there's all kinds of great opportunities to invest in real estate outside of where we live and where we work. You saw in the late 90s, early 2000s, the big craze and the big growth spurts in the Central Valley. A lot of people, believe it or not, commuting to Livermore, Tracy, Lathrop, Stockton, Los Banos, all these different places, right? And you thought, oh my God, I don't know if I could do that. And then there was the mortgage meltdown, and you had this big, big dip in housing prices that came collapsing down all over the place, quite frankly. And then most of you know that if you're familiar with this area rebounded nicely and actually is up even higher than it was at its height in 2006, 2007. And the reason why is because it's a strong economy, a great job market. There's no place to build. So you have those factors here that have made this a super strong, attractive market. Outside of this area, when you go outside a little bit, if you head south towards Gilroy, there's opportunities still. If you head east towards places like Lathrop, Tracy, and some of those areas, there's some opportunities for investment properties. One of the things you have to look at is what the rents are and what you want to do. And there's opportunities out there. And now with some of the public transportation that's going to be improving out to those areas, and with the popularity, honestly now with the popularity of telecommuting and also using technology, there's a lot of companies that are allowing people to work from their home a couple days a week, or flex hours where you don't necessarily have to be 9 to 5. You could work different hours. Because of these types of things, I think you'll see some additional migration now back out to those areas. People that are working in the Bay Area specifically that now are traveling 45 minutes to an hour and a half to in some cases, 2 hours to where they call home. And to some of you, that might sound crazy, but it's not so bad with some people. In certain industries, if you're a firefighter or a police officer, or you're in an industry where, you do have some different times where you work a lot, but then you're off for a while, this might be an attractive opportunity. Or if you're just looking for investment properties, I think this is a great opportunity to go outside. I had a caller a couple of weeks ago that talked about whether, San Leandro is a great opportunity. I'll tell you, San Leandro is a great opportunity. So is Hayward. Do you know where else is a really good opportunity to buy? And it's not going to be new to some people that scout this stuff out on a regular basis, but Vallejo. That whole area up and around Vallejo, there's talk that they're going to transform that area too, because it's near the water, and there's ferry transportation to San Francisco that's realistic, and Oakland and some different things. There's some interesting things that could be happening in Vallejo. So if you're an investor, and if you're a serious investor, you probably know this already, but if you're a person just kind of exploring and thinking about it and you're not really in tune to the daily market, I would tell you that Vallejo is a great place to look and buy right now for investment property. You could still get decent price compared to what you get around here in some other areas, and I do think that it's going to experience some pretty significant growth in the next 5 to 6 years into the Vallejo area. There's even talk about some companies moving there because of they have space. And it is interesting as it relates to the location and geographic area to the Bay Area and some of the places you could get to. So keep an eye on that. I would say Vallejo, Hayward, San Leandro, there are opportunities. Oakland, there was opportunities years ago, but believe it or not, I'm not sure that exists right now. There's probably little pockets, but it certainly would be an area I'd be careful. It's run up pretty hot and heavy. I still think there's some opportunities in Gilroy. I think there's opportunities in Hollister. The thing you have to be careful of places like that is that, again, what's the transportation like? What's the commute like? What's the public transportation like? What kind of a job markets? what you have to really do some due diligence and studies around some of this before you pull the trigger. But I would say that if someone asked me today, Joe, within this area, what do you think? I would call out San Leandro, Hayward, and Vallejo as the top 3 to look for potential places to buy and invest in investment real estate. I'd say some places that are interesting, if you go a little further, would be places like Lathrop, and they have some areas around the Delta. I'd stay away from Stockton, but they do have some areas in Lathrop that are interesting. They have some beautiful, beautiful new developments for, $400,000, right on some lakes and some new developments that are very attractive to. I think there'll be some home ownership that people will want to commute and be willing to drive the hour or so for something like that if they could really get that much more for their money, which then opens up doors for investment properties because you're going to have rents that are going up. So I would say those would be the ones that I would choose if someone was asking me for those opportunities. And before we close out this segment, the other one, of course, is we have great connections in Texas, North Carolina, Florida, a lot of different South Carolina, a lot of different places that we have some wonderful connections for investment properties. So if you're interested in those, contact us, and I can put you in touch with those people that do turnkey opportunities in those specific areas where I think there's some great investment opportunities for real estate. All right, in a minute we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to invite my guest in. Rick Elmendorf should be calling in. He's calling in from the East Coast. He is a specialist on VA and military loan. He's an expert in that area. He does a lot of business specifically focused in that area with Caliber Home Loans. Not only a great guy that is really focused on education information like I am, so we really kind of parallel each other with that. He's a big believer in that. But he's very passionate about helping the military folks get into have home ownership, and I admire him from that a great deal. So anyway, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. We'll have Rick on the line. We'll talk a little bit more. If you want to get your calls on the air, 1-800-516-1220 or text 408-838-9060. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with you to continue in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
It seems like every business out there is always talking about the newest way to make your life easier. But have you noticed the solutions are always on their time, not yours? At Real Estate Radio Live, we understand your time is valuable, and the best resources are those that fit your schedule, your needs, and your financial well-being. You can't always stop your day to find the latest in real estate and finance trends, so we've made it possible for them to come to you. Real Estate Radio Live podcasts are here. That means that all the education information that hits the airwaves 5 days a week is now available 24 hours a day on RERadiolive.com. Plus, get it on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, and TuneIn. It's your time and your money, and now it's your choice when and how to listen. Visit RERadiolive.com and click the podcast button. That's RERadiolive.com.
Real estate broker Cal DRE, NMLS number 6606.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We're with you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 Pacific Daylight Time. We're on KDOW 1220 AM. You could also listen to us live online anywhere during this time period if you go to RE Radio, or if you go to KDOW.biz, click on the button, listen live. You can listen anywhere. And lastly, be sure to follow us on the podcast. Not everybody has the luxury of listening during this time of the day, so that's why we want to provide the podcast for you. You could go to iTunes and just type in Real Estate Radio Live, get it there, or you go to our website, reradiolive.com. All right, let me invite my guest in. He's been on the show a couple different times. I'd like to check in with Rick Elmendorf. He is a VA military loan expert and specialist calling from the East Coast with Caliber Home Loans. Rick, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Living the dream.
Very good.
Getting kind of hungry, man. It's like 6:30 my time, so I'm like.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's you're kind enough to spend a little time with us on your what's probably your dinner time, right?
Oh man, no, I just had a little nutrition shake. I'm all set, man. I'm good.
Good deal. Well, thanks for checking in. How are things on the East Coast, by the way? The weather good this time of the year?
It's good. It's good. We just had friends in from France last week and got a. They always bring the really nice weather, so get a chance to play some golf, have dinner, chill. It's really nice here this time of year.
Good deal. Well, let's talk a little bit before we jump in. Give the listeners a little bit of your background, Rick, and in the industry, and then what you're currently doing now with your company there at Caliber Home Loans.
Yeah, sure. My wife would say I've been in the business too long. It kind of dates me back. 1994, I got into the business, but back when the fax paper was the frilly paper, and cell phones were as big as your head, so that sort of stuff going on. People had beepers. That was when I was in the mortgage business, but I've been doing it for a while. And I really enjoyed just such a unique business. Got in August of '94. A lot of things happened in '94. Got engaged in '94, married in '94, in the mortgage business in '94.
It's a big year for you.
Yeah, big year, man. I don't know if it was like my best year, my ultimate demise, but hey, God's been good. We've been just having really a whole lot of fun learning the business. I mean, the mortgage business is just not easy. I went through kind of learn from the ground up for the small mortgage broker from Catonsville, Maryland. Drove goodness, an hour and a half each way for 18 months. First part of my career, learning the business there, and found myself at a few different banks and wrote a few mergers along the way, and found myself where I call home now at Caliber Home Loans. And somewhere along the way, this is probably a whole podcast about how I got into VA loans, but it's my dad was in the military. Military people have always touched my heart, and have had a real passion to serve them. And they've served our country, and we wanted to just honor them. And obviously, September 11th was a big shock to everybody. And my business was literally put on hold for weeks as my main clientele was military, and just kind of really set in motion a whole new fervor for serving our veterans, and just not only there's one thing to say you do VA loans, but to really know it, knowing the loan,
right?
Because it truly is a specialty product. It's not like BC lending or bad credit lending or
right.
It's truly a specialty loan, and so we just set out to know it really well and to execute it. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys have had a lot of success. I want to, those out there listening to the show, obviously either live now or on the podcast. Obviously during live, if you have any questions for Rick, 1-800-516-1220 while we're on the live portion. But you could always text or email later. Because there's a lot of people in the Bay Area, they're all over the place that have the military background, and they either don't know that they could qualify or they're not educated enough. I know most people, again, in general, even though you guys have a high cost of living over there too, there are pocket areas where it may be a little more affordable. There's not a whole lot of pocket areas over here, but what would you tell, what would your message be to the folks out here, let's say, that might be struggling and to find or to really figure out the right fit, just probably on the education side? What would you suggest to them to find someone out in this area that's educated, or to contact you, or what's the best way to go about that, Rick?
Well, if you're talking VA specific, I have a whole VA specific. Quite frankly, I think education, honestly, and this is no offense to real estate agents at all, but I honestly think that education really is best found at the loan officer position. We just I seem to, and again, this is no offense to realtors, but to get really good information about what your numbers look like, what potential does it make sense to buy, what programs really make sense. I mean, there's just a myriad of things that a potential homeowner or even a current homeowner needs to know. I mean, just doing a quick look-see at what you currently have in the mortgage, and it could really go a long way. But again, the realtors and versus the loan officer, we do, again, no offense to realtors, but we probably do anywhere from 3 to 5 times the amount of business a top realtor does, top loan officers do. And that's no slight. It's just the reality, because we don't spend 8 hours a day with a client. We don't need to. We don't have to.
Correct.
But we have a good sense of a good fit from even we can refer a real estate agent, make sure they're squared away financially. As far as, so I'd say for the consumer to get good information, it's call their loan officer. And obviously you're a great resource on the West Coast. I'm a good resource on the East Coast. Really kind of start there. If you're like me and you're just kind of anal and wanted to do everything yourself, I mean, I literally read the whole VA handbook. So, I mean, you just go online, Google VA loans, and just go to the VA handbook and just read that thing if you really want to put yourself to sleep. But that's where I would start as a loan officer.
Yeah, that'd be good. If you could, Rick, give us the highlights for those, again, that may or may not be educated. And what I mean highlights is kind of give us some of the things about VA that people may or may not know, like, loan amounts or 100% down or unique down payment or anything that could be, unique or different than people might think is conventional kind of financing.
Yeah, sure. Well, the whole thing with the VA loan is that people can buy a home typically with no money down, which is a huge cost saver. We're fighting in our market right now of when is it right to actually become a homeowner? How do I move up from my existing home if I want to buy something but I don't have available down payment funds? So that's a real issue. Liquidity is often a major issue. But the VA loan, you avoid all of that. I mean, you can literally buy, I know in your area like mine, and there are county loan limits. So the VA will loan you up to a certain amount. And in my area, it's $636,150, as it is in probably in your area as well. But that's only really half the story. There's a little trick within the VA loan, and a lot of people think, I can only do 100% financing up to that, or maybe I've used my VA loan already and I can't use it again. Well, that's really hogwash. It's probably my biggest pet peeve regarding VA loans. And if anybody listening to this has ever been told to refinance their VA loan so they can get another one, oh my goodness, please don't do that. It's not necessary. There are ways. The VA has ability to loan. What they do is when you have a VA loan, when you have a VA eligibility, you have eligibility. You have entitlement, okay? And when you use your VA loan, you use some of your entitlement. Now, not everybody uses all of their entitlement. And even, in fact, if all of your entitlement is gone, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't use your VA loan again. There's a little thing called a second mortgage or a home equity line of credit. Now, typically people think of a home equity line of credit as, oops, I got in debt, and I need to go get a home equity line of credit to pay off my credit card debt. Well, that's one way to use it, but another way to use it is to actually extend the amount that you can borrow on both a conventional loan or a VA loan, allowing you to put less money down. So essentially, I've helped people in my market where they're trying to even stretch above and beyond the county loan limits or that which they maybe have used their entitlement, so they're capped at a certain 100% amount. Well, the VA will then, not only with their formula, will also allow with a second mortgage to borrow even up to a 100% of the purchase price. There's a lot of little tricks and tricks to the VA loan.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's really. We have about a minute or so for our first break here. So before we do that, why don't you, for the listeners out there or for the podcast, doesn't matter, if someone wants to know a little bit more, or maybe they want to pick your brain a little bit or shoot you an email, or what's the best place to reach you, Rick?
Yeah, probably the best place to reach me is on. I do have a blog or a website as well. You can go to rickelmendorf.com. And actually, if you go there right now, you probably see a nice picture of me and you there from the last radio podcast we did together.
There you go.
Which is kind of cool. But yeah, you can send me a message there, contact me for any questions you have, or on my email address, which is rick@elmendorfteam.com. That's Elmendorf, like the Air Force Base.
Great. All right, so what we're going to do is going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and we'll talk to Rick a little bit more about the VA specific financing. And then I'm going to ask Rick a little bit about, the function of getting VA and the importance of really helping some of the military personnel have home ownership for the first time. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to check in, 1-800-516-1220. We'll be back with you to continue in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Ignorance is not always bliss. Hi, this is Joe Kuchera, host of Real Estate Radio Live, and you probably know that information is my primary objective. That is why I wanted to share an important fact. Nearly 1/3 of Americans are unaware of how much equity they have, and it's a lot. Even though over 90% of homes across the nation are in a positive equity position, Fannie Mae estimates that 32% of homeowners fail to recognize the opportunity. It's like having a savings account that you forget about. The study also cites that 69% of homes have significant equity, greater than 20%. Here in Silicon Valley, where values have risen so drastically, that figure is likely much higher. Wondering how much equity you actually have? Call me and we could chat about your home's current position and the opportunities it presents. Let's make sure you know all of your options. Call 408-838-9060 or email joe@reradiolive.com.
Real estate broker Cal DRE, NMLS number 6606.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon as we wind down the show. Just a couple minutes left. We've been joined in the last couple of segments by Rick Elmendorf. He's a VA military loan expert with Caliber Home Loans on the East Coast, kind enough to spend a little time for us, talk a little bit about VA financing specifically. We have, this segment, one of the things I want to have you talk to, we have 5 or 6 minutes in this segment, but it's really important. Rick, if you could just explain to those out there, I mean, all of us in this business, we get busy, we're blessed if we have good production. I've done really well over the last several years and continue to grow my business. But some of the things that we have to be careful about is, becoming kind of jaded, and we do so much volume, and another transaction. But talk a little bit about the importance, and it has to be, I would guess for you even more so, not to say that when a person buys a home for the first time it's not important, because it always is, and it's very rewarding. But about, in the fact that you could help someone from the military, the current active, non-active, whatever, all the different forces, to get into home ownership, what them serving the country, giving back in so many different ways. Talk a little bit about how that makes you feel and how your team works around that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It is funny. We do this day in and day out, and where you only buy your first home once, right? So when we've helped hundreds of first-time home buyers become homeowners, and then take that to the next step of helping a young lieutenant and his family buy their first home, it's a special thing. And we do have to be careful of letting it just becoming another transaction. But that really is where the heart comes in. It's like some people say if you don't have a purpose in why you do what you do, then you're probably doing the wrong thing, right? So we've had to try to really kind of balance that and to make sure that we have the right heart, that we're serving without expectation. We give without expecting anything in return. And we've had you and I and everybody that's been in a professional scenario has, had clients that have chosen to, you've done a lot of work for and they've chosen to do something else, or, some would call them, that client just wasted my time. Well, you can't really look at it that way, especially you're dealing with a first-time home buyer, because, it's a nerve-wracking thing. I'm about to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars and put my life, and I don't even know if I'm going to be here. I mean, especially the military. I could be PCS tomorrow, and I could be going to Afghanistan. My family's here. What am I going to do here? Or I could be just recalled to active duty, and all of a sudden my paycheck goes down. That sort of thing. So there's a lot of fear involved sometimes in buying their first house. But that's where I've really taken the stance of, I think it's important for the consumer to not only look at what could be, because all of us dream about. Let me dream about buying the first. That's where it starts, right? I want to dream about becoming a homeowner. I want to own my own house. I want to have my kids playing in the backyard. But sometimes what gets in the way of that is fear, and which is a really good emotion, right? Without proper fear, we'd probably make some really bad decisions in life, right?
Right, that's right.
But also, I think one of the things I like to make sure I help people understand, and the consumer should really consider this, is what are the dangers that I would face if I do not buy my first home? What would happen in my financial position if I don't buy? So a lot of it is in the education process of helping somebody through, hey, what's it going to look like when I buy? I mean, just beyond the, hey, you need this much money, here's your mortgage payment, and here's some of your benefits. But what are the dangers of not buying? And I'm not saying it's every time it's the right time to buy, but there are times to buy and there's times not to buy. And I would argue that that'd be very hard-pressed to show me a scenario where it's probably not a good idea to buy right now. And I've done a lot of research into that recently.
Yeah. Those are good points. Let's kind of piggyback onto that with a couple of minutes left. I wanted to ask you a little bit about interest rates. There's a lot of talk. They're still very, very good, as you know, and most people, if you've been around this business a while, they're wonderful. The fact that you get rates in the 3 and the 4% range is spectacular. How do you see, I guess the first question was, how do you see rates as we close out 17? And then I know there's talk about maybe the Fed raising 3 times in 18. How do you see that? What do you think? What are your thoughts? And then, will that have any effect on the market?
Sure. Well, per Freddie Mac, I think recent projections, currently we're sitting at an average of somewhere around 4%, 4.02% is where current interest rates are. Freddie Mac projection for 2018 is 4.8%. That's a pretty big jump. I mean, and the only thing that can really keep that from probably teetering that high is maybe something's going on with North Korea or some silly thing like that, right, over the ocean. I mean, honestly, international pressures and those things really do affect interest rates. A lot of times when there's international chaos going on, that actually helps interest rates because people are going to be there's a big dynamic between the stock market and the bond market, right? So typically when you have international pressures and chaos going on, interest rates are typically lower. But that's really not what anybody's expecting to happen for as far as a projection. They're projecting interest rates to be in the 4.75 to 4.8% range. Additionally, to kind of as a double whammy, CoreLogic is projecting the average home price to go up by 4.9%. So, you tack on interest rates going up almost 0.8%, home prices going up almost 5% and 6% in some markets across the country, and you've really just hit yourself, you really shot yourself in the foot as well. So just kind of to bring this all into something real here, for every on a $250,000 house, for every $250,000,
we got just about 30 seconds left. So I just
sure,
go ahead. We got about 30 seconds left.
Sure, $250,000. Basically the increase in payments for those two things happening together is about $180 a month, which is a pretty big deal.
All right, unfortunately, we're out of time. Hey, Rick, thanks for the time. Always good having you on. We'll have you back in a couple months, and you can check in.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me on.
Always great having Rick on. All right, we're going to duck out. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Tune in. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Take care.
Program. Visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Tune in, log in, download our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com. RERadiolive.com.